when students are taking classes, they're pretty much learning about broadly applicable principles. When they get into the lab to do research, they can see how those principles are applied to one really specific problem.
It's a real detective trip to try to figure out what's going on, and that's completely different than the sort of canned labs that you get in class.
If a student has interests in going on into research, maybe going to graduate school in chemistry or biochemistry, it's really essential for the student to find out if they like doing research or not.
Last summer I worked with Dr. Craig Teague, who studied the ability of Kagan ions to reduce metallic solutions to create nanoparticles, which have a range of different applications. It was a fairly new experience for me because I'm a biochemistry major, but what I was actually looking at was all completely new to me. I think that was a really good experience for me. I'd never worked in a lab before. It was purely scientific research.
Well, I think there's a big difference between, well, it gives students a taste of actually doing science rather than just studying about science. So you have a problem that you don't understand or you need to build something, and no one knows how to do this. You can't go to a textbook and they'll tell you, or you can't go ask your teacher because they don't know.
I'd heard that there was a solar cell research program, and I was really interested in it because I think solar cells are pretty sweet. We took titanium dioxide that the chemistry department helped us synthesize. And we would test them in an overhead projector, and then we'd test them outside and figure out our efficiencies.
Last summer I worked in a genetics lab at the University of Iowa. I worked for Dr. Jeff Murray, who has a lab that looks at prematurity and cleft lip and palate and the genetics behind those disorders. So yeah, I got to experience working in a professional research lab. It was a really big lab. There are almost 50 lab members, so it was really complicated, and I got to experience and learn about a lot of different projects and a lot of different techniques in genetics research.
Basically, I worked with Marty Condon, a professor here, as well as a professor in Iowa City, Andrew Forbes. And we were studying sunflower flies around Iowa. And basically there's different morphological features on them, so different wing shapes and different body patterns. So we wanted to see how that would affect sexual selection.
Well, research in geology is really, really important because that's the way students learn really how to do geology, how to do science. And all of the geology faculty do research with students during the summer as well as during the school year.
Well, I had a NASA-funded internship through the University of Buffalo this summer. The woman I was working with is a geochemist, and she does a lot of work with iron meteorites. We were doing experiments to try to figure out what the light elements are in Earth's core, because we know that it's iron and nickel, but we don't really know what the other 10% is.
They really have to learn to trust what they've done, be critical of their own work, and see if it makes sense.
We got kind of like the first round of all of the press releases and everything.
We had a lot of free reign to do pretty much what we wanted to do.
It was a really, really great experience, getting like practical experience working in a lab.
You actually see the whole process of research.
It's nice when it all comes together though, and you actually solve the problem.